Well, that's a relief. Armando Garcia is a gangbanger. He's a murderer. How do I know? Because it's nowhere in the indictment that they just unsealed in Tennessee as a ruse, as a distractor, as a way for no one to notice that Donald Trump is a taco, that he's chickened out again in the face of a contempt proceeding in Maryland by bringing a phony indictment in Tennessee and then having Pam Bondi, the attorney general, stand in front of a presser in which, I got to tell you, you can always tell when she's not comfortable telling the truth or isn't telling the truth because she blinks incessantly. I mean, I haven't seen so much blinking in a video since a hostage crisis. I thought she was signaling SOS. That's how many blinks Pam Bondi had. The problem is that Pam Bondi and all the rest of the Trump sycophants want to make Armando Garcia out to be a convicted felon, a menace to society, to convict him and execute him in public without that little nasty problem of due process or a courtroom or a jury or evidence. And it comes up time and time again. How many times have we seen Pam Bondi take to a press conference to announce something about, we just caught the MS-13 ringleader in Virginia. And then 7 or 8 days later when they dismiss the indictment, well, maybe not. I'm Michael Popok. We're on it here on the MeidasTouch Network and on Legal AF. We got the indictment. It got unsealed. It's back in May the 21st. This is the big way that Donald Trump is trying to act like I'm not going to bring back Armando Garcia just because a 9-0 Supreme Court ruled that I needed to, or a judge in Maryland, Judge Xinis, has ordered me numerous times to bring him home and to facilitate his release and to tell her what I am doing to facilitate that release. I'm not going to tell her anything. That's not the reason I'm bringing him back. I'm bringing him back because she's about to throw the book at me for contempt. And I have this phony May 21st indictment in Tennessee claiming that he's a human trafficker. And I'll use that as the excuse to bring him back to the United States. I thought this was the guy we would never see, Armando Garcia. Here's our taco moment, everybody. The Trump always chickens out moment. You'll never, remember they from the White House official social media account, they taunted Senator Van Hollen, America, the Supreme Court, Judge Xinis, everyone. You will never see Armando back in the United States again. Never! Fill in evil laugh following. How's that going so far? And everybody saw it. Supreme Court looked at Judge Xinis' order and said, oh, you want to facilitate his return from El Salvador to give him due process and notice? Yeah, you do you. That sounds like a good thing to do. And by the way, you should also manage and monitor the situation and get reports from the Trump administration. And for the last 2 months since that April 10th ruling, they haven't gotten any reports from the Trump administration. They've gotten the middle finger. That's a non-legal term. They've been told, she's been told to go pound sand. At one point, she got so frustrated during a contempt discussion that she said, I feel like I'm the cat and you're holding the ball of string and you keep yanking it away from me. A week ago, she said she was about to find them in contempt. And a day ago, she gave Garcia's lawyers, represented by the ACLU and Quinn Emanuel, she gave them permission to file the motion for contempt. And now suddenly, all the things that Donald Trump said he couldn't do before. I have no control over El Salvador. It's a sovereign nation. We just had Bukele here. He won't smuggle Garcia back in. And I won't ask him to. We don't have any, he's in El Salvador prisons. They have to make their own decisions. Yeah, except for a couple of things. A couple of 1-2 punches in a row. Justice Boasberg in D.C. just ruled yesterday that everybody not named Garcia gets to be certified as a class to have due process rights vindicated in his courtroom because he found that Donald Trump controls the prison in El Salvador, at least constructively. And he wasn't going to fall for the ruse. And this is his terms in his order. He wasn't going to fall for the ruse that Donald Trump and the Trump administration don't have control over what's going on in El Salvador. You then have the second punch. Boom. Judge Xinis comes in and says, yeah, the other side, you can file your motion for contempt now. I've had it. I've had it with waiting to hear what happens to Garcia. And then in the face of those two orders, we have the taco moment. Oh, Pam Bondi taking to the presser. We're bringing him back. But we're not bringing him back because the Supreme Court told us to, 9-0. We're bringing him back because he's got to face the music and the charges of an indictment as a murderer and gangbanger and all of that in Tennessee, except that's not what the indictment says. Let's look at the presser and a very simple question that to me, it looks like Pam Bondi was not prepared to answer. Let's roll the clip.
I have two. One's on topic, one's off topic. Maybe I misunderstood you, but you were mentioning, that he had some involvement in a murder, or was connected to groups that had, involved with this other smuggling ring. But to be clear, the only charges he's facing right now are the, human smuggling charges. Just that's the one offense. But the other things that you have talked about are not actually in the indictment?
No, co-conspirators allege that, and we were clear to say that. He is charged with, it's not only very serious charges of alien smuggling. And again, there were children involved in that. Human trafficking, not only in our country, but in our world, is very, very real. It's very dangerous. And as you saw recently in Virginia, the arrest we made of the MS-13 member, unrelated to this, we learned at that press conference, that's where they bring young children into our country and they start grooming them at middle school age to become MS-13 full-fledged members, commit violent crimes throughout our country. It is highly organized. It is very dangerous. And they are living throughout our country, but no more, because they are being arrested, they are being prosecuted, and being convicted and deported when appropriate. That's all for today. Thank you.
You ever seen so much blinking? She should really see somebody about that. All right, so I looked at the indictment cover to cover. Yeah, it mentions that he's MS-13, no tattoos on his hands, the way Donald Trump made it out to be. I see a couple of counts, transporting aliens, transporting undocumented, claiming that since 2016, who was president again in 2016? Right, Donald Trump, this guy was operating and running a smuggling ring with some other people. Very scant indictment based on a confidential informant who's not listed. Seems a little suspicious to me, if you know what I mean. In fact, when he was picked up in Tennessee back in 2022, he was released. He had 7 guys in the car, but he said, I'm working here. We're working on a construction site. That's why there was no luggage. And the Tennessee troopers were like, okay. They didn't even give him a ticket for suspended license. They didn't give him a ticket for no insurance. They let him go. But that wasn't good enough for Pam Bondi and the Kash Patel FBI. They need to get to the bottom of this cold case. The cold case of what? The guy taking other people to work? And now they've got evidence that it goes back to 2016? Come on. And suddenly he's a drug smuggler? Come on. Is anybody really buying this? I'll tell you who's not buying it, besides the American people. Judge Xinis. This bringing him back for the indictment doesn't solve the contempt problem about their refusal to bring him back despite several court orders and their contumacious conduct. It proves the point. There's going to be an order to show cause any minute now. Let me listen for it. Any minute now from Judge Xinis to call on the carpet the Trump administration lawyers, the Department of Justice, and maybe Pam Bondi. She watched that press conference, I'm sure. She's going to say, let me get this straight. So you always had the ability to bring back Armando Abrego, but you're only bringing him back about a indictment from May the 21st. You've been ordered to bring him back since April the 10th, at least supported by the United States Supreme Court. So that doesn't help you. And the fact that you showed you can bring him back shows me that you've been jerking my chain, legal term, for long enough. And we have a phrase for that, a term of art for that in the law, in the job that she has. It's called contempt of court. This just proved contempt of court. Whose half-brain idea was it to use this phony indictment to try to bring him back so nobody would notice? I guess they thought, let's do it now, boss. The whole Elon Musk meltdown is consuming news media and the news cycle. Let's slip Armando Abrego Garcia back into the country. If I'm Judge Xinis, and knowing her, we followed her closely, she's going to order that he appear, the lawyers appear, he get transported from Tennessee on taxpayer dollars back to Maryland for a hearing there, because he's not going home at night. from this arraignment. He's going to get arraigned. He's not going to get a bond. He's going to be held in Tennessee Federal Detention Center. That's obviously in Nashville, where this case is. But she can order him to be transferred. And the U.S. Marshals, under the control of Pam Bondi, are going to have to do it. And first, she's going to start, I'm sure, with an order to show cause hearing as to why she shouldn't continue to find them in contempt and new grounds for contempt. Because it's not just, you don't need to get the other side to issue a motion for the judge to act in contempt. She's got inherent authority to do exactly that if she sees it and smells it. And this smells to high heaven what just happened. And the Pam Bondi press conference, she should give less press conferences. They're great for us, but she should give less press conferences. There's a reason we didn't see Merrick Garland that much. It sort of annoyed us, but at least we knew he was doing his job. I mean, not fast enough. You know, we could criticize who he appointed and who he didn't appoint. But Pam Bondi, she thinks she's on Fox News. I mean, she basically is. We'll continue to follow it all right here on the MeidasTouch Network. Take a moment, hit the free subscribe button here. Come over to Legal AF, the YouTube channel, hit the free subscribe button there, and sit at that intersection of law and politics the way we know how to do it. And on our Legal AF Substack, where we post things like the indictment and other documents you may want to read and get your hot little hands on. So until my next hot take, this is Michael Popok.
Love this video? Make sure you stay up to date on the latest breaking news and all things Meidas by signing up to the MeidasTouch newsletter at MeidasTouch.com/newsletter.